The RCMP was not the police service we strive to be. On behalf of the RCMP, I am truly sorry.
Tonight, the RCMP apologized for mishandling their investigation into the death of 22-year-old Amber Tuccaro.
A wonderful contrast as well to maybe what people would generally think of Inuit art and Inuit carving.
We take a look at some unique Inuit carvings that are now on display in Winnipeg. Good evening, welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward. The family of Amber Tuccaro, who was murdered in 2010, received an apology today from the RCMP for the mishandling of her case. APTN's Chris Stewart was at the RCMP headquarters in Edmonton. Chris, can you tell us what's happening?
Today, the RCMP K Division in Alberta publicly apologized to the family of Amber Tuccaro, who died nearly a decade ago in 2010. Amber's body was found in 2012 near Leduc, just south of Edmonton. The RCMP investigations concluded that the Leduc RCMP detachment committed many mistakes on Amber's case, from filing a missing persons report late to taking her off of the missing persons report with no proof. Deputy Commissioner Curtis Zlblocki issued the apology.
I fully acknowledge that in the early days of our investigation into Amber's disappearance, that it required a better sense of urgency and care. We agree with the Civilian Review and Complaints Commission that in 2010, our Leduc detachment's initial missing person investigation was not our best work and was not in line with our established practices, procedures, and guidelines. At the beginning of this investigation, the RCMP was not the police service we strive to be. On behalf of the RCMP, I am truly sorry.
Amber's mother, Vivian, said the apology does not mean much. She is hopeful that the RCMP will now on take missing persons report more seriously. I will have more on this story on tomorrow's APTN National News. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Chris. To Fredericton now, where the Assembly of First Nations has wrapped up its annual General Assembly. The meeting covered the upcoming federal election and climate change, but it also saw the AFN executive try to suspend its regional chief for Nova Scotia and Newfoundland for harassment and bullying, something that chiefs down east are challenging. And I understand our reporter Amber Bernard also got her hands on a briefing note, and she joins us now.
Thanks, Dennis. We managed to get our hands on a briefing note in the ongoing alleged harassment that has Morley Gugu, Regional Chief Morley Gugu. He's been alleged for harassment. Cheryl Maloney, who is the former president of the Native Women's Association in Nova Scotia, came forward with an investigation. Anyway, we got our hands on a briefing note here that was drafted up July 20th ahead of the AFN annual general meeting that just ended today. And there's some key points that the regional chief Gugu brings up in here. He is requesting that all of the Nova Scotia and Newfoundland chiefs bring his concerns forward to Perry Bellegarde. Some of the things he's asking is, you know, what AFN bylaws did the regional chief break, and what criminal charges have been laid. So, I mean, it's important to note that Gugu hasn't been charged with any assault or harassment, that these are just alleged incidences. So, you know, this is the briefing note here, and it's also in here, it alludes to the fact that there was a phone call conversation between Bellegarde and Gugu, and apparently Bellegarde had told Gugu, you know, just do your job in the meetings and send a proxy to national meetings.
So, Amber, what did the AFN National Chief Perry Bellegarde have to say about this?
We reached out multiple times since we got our hands on this briefing note, and we were declined each time from multiple communications people, from the chief, that he didn't want to do an interview with us. But we weren't going to take no for an answer. So when the closing ceremonies happened, we ran out there and you know, rushed to get Perry Bellegarde before he left the meeting. And you know, you can see what happens next.
Hey, Perry, We're not available. We got to get going. We got to get going.
We're just
sorry,
going.
Sorry, Amber.
National meeting. Please
Sorry,
don't
Amber.
touch me.
Thanks, guys.
Amber, sounded like you said, please don't touch me. What was going on there?
Yeah, so I asked Chief Perry Bellegarde, why did you tell the regional chief Gugu not to attend any national meetings? I didn't get an answer from that, but his political advisor, which you can see in the video, he's the big guy, his name is Dakota Kochi, and he put his hands on me. This is the second time it's happened, by the way, and it's also important to note that this is a story we're chasing that involves harassment against Indigenous women. And I had asked him, hey, please don't touch me.
And you say this is the second time this has happened to you?
This is the second time. The first time it happened to me was at the AFN election in Vancouver last year. He had grabbed my arm and mic and told me the chief's not taking any questions. So when it happens the first time, you think maybe it's the heat of the moment, but when it happens again, and you're the only female Indigenous reporter that gets pushed out of the way, you have to wonder why.
Well, that is certainly unfortunate, Amber. Good work out there at the AFN in Fredericton, and thanks for providing an update here for us.
Thank you.
And we'd like to hear what you have to say. Here's how to continue the conversation. Send your emails to news@aptn.ca. Find us online at aptnnews.ca and on youtube.com/aptnnews. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest Indigenous news. Philip Tallio spent 3 decades in prison for a murder he claims he didn't commit. New evidence discovered may point to his innocence. It's compelling enough that Tallio was granted a new trial, expected in the spring of 2020. In the meantime, his lawyers are trying to get him out on bail, much to the objections of the family members of the victim. Our reporter Rob Smith attended the hearings in Vancouver, and he joins us now. Rob, good to see you. Can you give us a little background on this case?
Well, this is an ongoing saga. It's been 3 decades now. It all started with the horrific murder of young Delavina Mack in a New Hulk First Nation territory, Bella Coola. A man by the name of Philip Tallio was found guilty, and he's been in prison for 36 years. And he, since day one, has maintained that he didn't kill his young cousin, who was a toddler at the time, and has now just recently been granted a chance for a new trial.
And so, Rob, can you tell us what happened in court this week?
Yeah, over a course of a couple of days, they've been arguing over a bail, the Crown and Philip Tallio's lawyers. The actual appeal won't be heard until the spring of 2020. So Mr. Tallio is looking to get out on bail, and there's been some objections, some serious objections to this. The Crown is worried about public safety. They're worried about supervision. They're worried about contact with the family members of the young child, and so those arguments have been going back and forth for the past couple of days, and as of today, no decision on bail has been made. It's been put off till August 8th.
I understand you've heard a side of the story that has not received a lot of attention. What were you hearing?
We heard from through their lawyer, we heard from family members of the murder victim who have for the most part, been silent and wanting to keep away from the media and keep their distance from this. Through their lawyer today, though, they object to Mr. Tallio getting bail. They say they're terrified of running into him. They don't want him to return to the community of Bella Coola at all. They want him banned from the community. They also want him banned without supervision from Vancouver proper, because there are family members living in Vancouver and they just do not want to accidentally run into him. The lawyer said all this new attention has created new wounds, new scars for the family. The pain is very real and alive, and it took a lot for them. There's about 10 of them who showed up in court today. The lawyer said it took a lot for them even just to show up, and the grief after all these years, 3 decades, goes on and on. So we heard a little bit of the point of view from the family of the victim. For Philip's part, he says that he has no plans of going back to Bella Coola. He says he himself thinks it's a safety issue for himself. However, he does, if he gets a chance, would like to go to a Canucks game or even just ride the SkyTrain. So a man who's been in jail for 36 years, so those are novel things to do.
Indeed. Well, important story, Rob. Appreciate you providing us with an update here.
Thanks, Dennis.
And you can watch Rob Smith's APTN Investigates documentary by visiting our website, aptnnews.ca. Now to that Canada-wide search for 2 murder suspects that today is intensifying. Police across the country are looking for 18-year-old Briar Schmegleski and 19-year-old Cam McLeod. The pair has been charged with second-degree murder in the death of Leonard Dick. His body was found on the side of a northern BC highway last week. The men are also suspects in the murder of an Australian-American couple. Police have descended on the small town of Gillam in northern Manitoba, where the 2 were last seen. Officials are searching thick brush and swamps, hoping to make an arrest. Residents in the small Inuit community of Kugluktuk rallied yesterday in protest. 24 people stood outside of the RCMP detachment in the early afternoon, calling on police to be more responsive to calls involving booze. Chanting "serve and protect," the protesters say crime has increased after a liquor restriction was lifted last December. Since then, residents claim that the RCMP have ignored calls of incidents that relate to alcohol. The Hamlet Council is expected to meet with RCMP to discuss the matter further.
You know, they could have intervened in a lot of issues in town, but some residents' family and friends come fight, and we had one person say they call the RCMP. They come over and they ask a couple of questions about, I don't know, whatever, and then they leave without doing anything when the drunken people are still there.
Time for a quick break, but stick around. There's more to come. Here's a look at Friday's weather forecast starting on the East Coast. Sunny skies and 27 for Halifax and Charlottetown. More rain for Nain with a high of 17. 27 into the sun for Happy Valley, Goose Bay. 31 in Montreal. 29 in Quebec City and Chibougamau. Rain and 30 for Toronto and Peterborough. 32 under sunny skies in Ottawa. 26 with showers for Thunder Bay. 23 with rain for Sioux Lookout. Welcome back. The results of a long-awaited medical study conducted among Inuit in Nunavik has revealed they've developed unique genetic traits to adapt to their environment, distinguishing them from any other known group. Lindsay Richardson explains.
Some of them are ancient DNAs from Arctic, and some of them are just ancient Americans.
You won't get directions from this map, but it'll tell you a lot about our world.
You only basically need to know that this blue cluster is Nunavik Inuit and it's different from the rest of the worldwide population.
This little cluster represents the Inuit of Nunavik, a group genetically distinct from any other.
I think the first very obvious fact that we observed in the study is that they are very isolated, homogeneous population genetically, that they have no gene flow from like European descent or other Aboriginal people.
Saray Zhou took the lead on a decades-long study establishing links between brain aneurysms and the Inuit of northern Quebec, but they discovered so much more. According to Zhou, the Inuit adapted at a cellular level to diet and climate factors. Using advanced technology, researchers determined that their genes can indicate future health problems.
The tools are so different from when I was doing this kind of things myself that, it changes very quickly.
Information Patrick Dion says was impossible to obtain when a Montreal neurologist began interviewing the first of 170 study participants in the 1990s.
So since 2010, we could apply a genetic tool to sequence the entire coding portion of the genome of any individual. And now actually it's possible to sequence the entire genome of an individual. Even though we collected samples 25 years ago, we were asking very kind of singular hypothesis question. But now we can ask more questions and we could get more answers.
Simply put, the smaller the genome snip, the more information you can extract. And in this case, an unexpected origin story.
We also could potentially place them in like migration tree or development tree between like Nunavik Inuit, between the other like Siberian indigenous peoples, Alaskan Inuit and Greenlandic Inuit.
The study revealed a close genetic link to the Paleo-Eskimos, a group scientists believe populated the Arctic before the Inuit, following a mass migration during the Ice Age. Though genotyping can't yet answer questions about risk of addiction or mental illness, for example, the hope is that as technology advances, so will the answers to medicine's more pressing questions.
Eventually, we might construct some like genetic panels for like disease diagnosis. Well, that's on the long run.
Using the smallest of small pieces to construct a bigger picture of Canada's north. Lindsay Richardson, APTN National News, Montreal.
A new exhibit showcasing the beauty of Inuit communities has opened at the Winnipeg Art Gallery. For the first time, a large collection of miniature carvings is on display under the gallery's roof. As Brittany Hobson shows us, the new exhibit is giving the city a preview of what's to come for the much-awaited Inuit Art Center.
Blink and you might miss the intricacies in this carving. The Winnipeg Art Gallery invites visitors into the rich world of Inuit with its latest exhibit, Small Worlds.
The exhibition brings together a little over 100 miniature carvings from 19 different communities across Nunavut and the 4 regions.
Jocelyn Pirinen is the assistant curator of Inuit art. She was tasked with putting together the latest exhibit.
I love the expression of their movements, and you can also see some of the carver decided to show the detailing of like the hood.
Carvings depict scenes custom to the north, like this one of a hunter catching its meal, or this one showing a group gathered around an igloo. Pirinen says Small Worlds deviates from what non-Inuit traditionally view as art.
A wonderful contrast as well to maybe what people would generally think of Inuit art and Inuit carving.
Each display plays on different themes like family and survival. Larger versions can be seen on tablets. Small Worlds is the latest effort to ramp up anticipation of the gallery's Inuit Art Center. Pirinen says visitors can expect to see a lot more carvings.
The majority will be carvings of stone, simply because any of the other materials, they would have to be conserved and kind of set away from the light.
The Inuit Art Center is expected to open by next fall. Small World will run until February 2020. Brittany Hobson, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Truly incredible work. Time for another quick break, but there's still more to come. Here's the rest of Friday's weather forecast. Being back up in northern Alberta, showers in 24 for High Level and Fort McMurray. Sunny, warm day for Medicine Hat with a high of 33, 31 in Lethbridge. Sunny and 25 in Vancouver, 33 in Kamloops. 25 with rain for Fort Nelson, 17 and showers for East Lake. Sunny and 24 in Old Crow, 19 and partly sunny for Whitehorse. 26 under sunny skies in Fort Liard and Trout Lake, rain and 17 in Yellowknife. 9 for Sax Harbor, 22 in Fort McPherson and Inuvik. 11 in Repulse Bay, 7 with showers for Cambridge Bay. 15 with rain for Resolute, 6 in Clyde River. Welcome back. There are many books published about treaties, but now there's one coming that's written by a 9-year-old, and she won a major national award for it. APTN's Chris Stewart talks to grade 5 writer Bella Morisseau.
It's like it's judging someone by their skin color or their culture.
She's not your typical kid. Her grandfather says she was an early talker, having full conversations at 18 months old. Bella Morisseau picked up reading quickly, and not long after, began writing stories.
I really like writing ever since I could get pen to paper. That was I think I started writing when I was 3, and I would write every day. Graduating.
Her stories were mostly about fairy tale characters. In grade 4, her teacher suggested she enter a speech competition. She wrote about Treaty 6 and her experience living on reserve at Saddle Lake Cree Nation. She called her speech Honor the Treaties. Bella's grandfather Merle says her speech had a profound impact on the audience.
We went to Elk Island, we got in front of 400 people, and she gave her speech. And the room went quiet. I had people behind me, directly behind me, simply say, I didn't know this is the way it was.
Bella talked about living in a house with black mold, inadequate education, and access to proper health services. She told the crowd that Canada did not live up to their end of the treaties.
You have a 10-year-old saying, the residential school system caused all this. It caused all this pain. These are 10-year-olds. I'm thinking a 9-year-old little girl is simply open up eyes, open up potential to talk, and simply say, how do we make things better?
Her speech won. An elder suggested she enter the 2019 UNESCO Indigenous Child Author Competition. In just 4 days, she expanded her speech into a 1,500-word book.
So every day I would spend 3 to 5 hours in my room writing, and then I give each chapter to my papa, and he would type it on his computer.
Bella took home the Silver Award at Government House in Victoria, accompanied by her brother Cashton and her grandfather.
Before my name was even called, I was shaking, and I was holding on to my papa, and I was very excited. And when I heard that I got silver, I was very happy.
Her book will be published in 6 languages. She's already working on her next book. She wants to call it Cinderella and the Not-So-Evil Stepmother. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Bonnyville, Alberta.
Great work, Bella. Looking forward to that book. We should have you on Face to Face. That's your APTN National News for this Thursday. For much more, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you back here tomorrow.